What's up, everybody? Giancarlo here, joined by Matt Sublet at the Three Swords Productions. We are here talking about the celebrations events that have happened over the weekend. Sublet, would you like to explain this beautiful pie chart we have here?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, let's think where our data comes from. We have a whole bunch of data. 35 different events are shown to you here on this pie chart. We have 138 points total represented here. We only considered top four. Sometimes people didn't have all the top four. They just remember, oh, Broly won and Vegeta got second. So it doesn't add up exactly there. But we do have data from 35 different events across the country. And if you are in the Hermit style Discord and you provided this data, go down to the comments below and say you're welcome, because thanks, everybody. All right, so this is every single leader that we have available right here on this pie chart, 12 of them. And immediately, Chesko, what do you see?
That's a big chunk of green right there.
It's a whole lot of green. That's right. Our highest representation, Gohan, green Gohan, followed by green Broly, and then you have to go quite a ways down before you see the next one, which is cooler. Wow, that is a significant chunk of the pie chart belonging to Gohan and Broly as they sort of combat each other for best deck in the format, while every other deck is just like, man, I hope I don't pair into Gohan or Broly.
Yeah, so man, it's hard. We've seen you know events from mostly the bigger events have all been in Japan so far. There haven't really been any case tournaments. Like I don't know. But yeah, it's alarming to say the least. I mean, we knew Green was going to be very good. And then right behind Green, we do see the yellow decks, which occupy the I wouldn't even say counter Green strategy, but I just know a lot of people turn to yellow as a way to try to beat green. I know several people who
Yeah,
say Cooler has a positive matchup against Gohan, or Frieza has a decent chance against Broly and Gohan, and stuff like that. So it is interesting. Whereas like Ginyu, I think has almost no shot against Broly, but it can perform well
yeah,
against Gohan. You know.
absolutely, absolutely. We both played in celebrations here. Our own data is represented on this pie chart.
Yeah.
Cooler is definitely a standout as a top contender of tier two. Not really surprising to see it do so well. It's got a really, really powerful effect on the backside, being able to discard a card to untap either an energy or a four drop or less. Let's be honest, you're going to untap the big bungus Frieza, or you're going to untap your four drop cooler. You get so much value out of that effect that you're able to close out games pretty quickly. And then Frieza, we don't really have a lot of deeper information. It's often said the data sets aren't really complete. What we're missing from this data set is the fine details for that Frieza. Are these more mid-range Frieza builds, or do we just see a Ginyu package with a Frieza leader? And I mean that in itself may influence things, because if you have a Ginyu Frieza deck, or if you're playing Ginyu in general, and you go into one of the Florida events where Broly's just rain from the ceiling, you're going to have a very hard time that day. If you match up against the Gohans, you're probably going to have a little bit better of a time. I've seen these yellow Ginyu package decks do really well into Gohan and really poorly into Broly. And so they're very polarized by which member of the green part of this pie chart they go against.
Yeah, definitely. It's I don't know. I do think. I mean, like I said, we had a because there could have been. I don't even know how many celebrations there were. There could have been hundreds and hundreds, and we only have this small sample size. But a lot of people I'm talking to are just saying, yeah, Broly Gohan, Broly Gohan. Every now and again,
Yeah,
like so. For example, we also have um, the Pro Play Games webcam tournament. And I got to shout out PPG. Every week they're doing webcam locals. Um, and that was Frieza actually won. So, it's not that, green is the only color winning anything. You know what I mean? We actually have a Frieza that ended up winning. I'm not surprised to see blue so low. But
Yeah.
low key, I was hoping. I mean, I think red might. This is going to be a little bit of a hot take. I think when we get a really good red list, a really good red player who has like developed his list very well, I think we might see red start to creep up a little higher. You know what I mean? Because I think red might be a little bit underrated right now.
That's interesting. I think red is exactly where it's supposed to be, in my own opinion. I think that Beerus might be a little overrated here on this data. Um, you know, we can talk about the red specifically. You see U7 Goku, the one out of the set, is the lowest representation, and Starter Ku is higher. That might just be influenced by people not being able to get their product. I think we'll see as time
Oh,
goes on those two flip.
no, I don't agree. I
Um,
think Starter Coup, this might be a
I
hot
think
take.
so.
Starter Coup is the best red leader, 100%. That is my hot take.
Interesting. Are you playing your Starter Ku with the field spell in there and just getting that +10 on attack?
No, but Field Spell's okay. I
No.
don't like
Okay.
it's really slow. It just okay, so like
It
so Beerus is fine. I don't personally like Beerus. I don't think it's bad. I think it's boring. And U7 Goku is locked into excuse me, having to play like these U7 cards, and it has to be very aggressive because your leader doesn't really get that much inherent value outside of attacking. Whereas Starter Coup, it can play a wider variety of cards. A lot of the U6 cards are very good. Take Frost, for example. When playing
Yeah.
against Ginyu
Mhm.
or Frieza or even Cooler, um, Frost creates like a huge challenge for them to get over. They have to see removal, and their best option for removal is kind of a Golden Death Beam. And so they have to rest it and remove it with like Golden Death Beam. They have to rest it with like Cooler and attack it with Leader. So like cards like that, they don't really get any buff. Like you play that in U7 Goku, like why? Like it doesn't get any benefit off of the Leader. So Starter Coup plays the U6 package way better, and there's a ton of great U6 cards. Hit, Frost, Botamo is insane. And then yeah, you play the U7 cards are good. Don't get me wrong. The Secret Rare Goku, the 5-drop from the starter deck, the Double Striker, those cards are great. You're gonna play those too. But I just think the U7 leader is overall better. Excuse me.
Interesting.
Jeez.
I cannot I cannot wait to get more data so that we can actually see if you end up being correct on that. I don't have as much experience with red. I feel like Beerus is a good noob slayer kind of deck, just because it's a critical leader, and if your opponent doesn't really know how to navigate that, you can gain just enough advantage in the beginning to close out in the end. I would definitely be interested to see the U7 versus Starter Coup
Mm,
breakdown later.
yeah.
Let's talk about the blue though, while it's there. Trunks is by and large the worst performing deck in this entire data set out of 138 data points. Chesco, do you want to take a guess at how many of them were Trunks?
Was it one?
It was one,
Was it
yes.
one?
A whole, a whole Trunks made it in, yes. Representing not even a single percentage
Yeah.
of this pie chart.
I'll give you a hot take. Now I'll give you a cold take. Blue sucks, and all of them are about as bad as each other. I think Vegeta is better than Trunks and Goku Black, but
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's like, okay, this is really bad, and this is pretty bad, so it doesn't really matter, you know?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. We're in a very value oriented kind of meta, especially with green versus green. You see a whole lot of value trading going on.
Yeah.
Whatever deck can maintain the highest level of value typically wins the game. Number of cards in hand, super important in
Yeah.
this game right now. Vegeta, Goku Black, Trunks, they have cards in their deck that say you don't get a good effect unless you have seven or less cards in your hand.
Yeah.
That does not help over the course of the game. It doesn't do any favors whatsoever. I agree. Vegeta is probably the best of the blue decks, just because he draws and he's got a good aggressive effect, which works well with your overstated cards when your hand is low. Hopefully, it's enough to carry you through. It can. You can have positive win rates into certain decks like Cooler and Frieza. because you have removal for their 4 drops. You can even do pretty well against something like a Broly because 35 is pretty big. They required nothing from you. They're a 25, so the best number to attack them with is a 35. For Gohan, you're just a little bit bigger, but they have one more life, which is kind of so. You're not too bad. If you're a Vegeta, you're really hoping to play against like the reds and yellows of the world, or the Trunkses. You'd love a tournament where you just got paired into like 3 Trunkses. But when it
Sure.
goes into that green wedge, when it goes into the green wedge, I think that your hand is just too small. And Goku Black, like the best thing you can do with Goku Black is swing 40k crit every turn, use your Pilaf combos, and unfortunately that takes 8 turns to win the game.
Right.
That's
Yeah. It
quite a
just
lot.
doesn't matter. Your opponent plays one Gohan and he gains a life, and you're
It's
like,
over.
I've been
It's
set
over.
back. I've been set back too much.
I got an alt Goku Black leader, so I built it just to try it out, and I played against Gohan, and they played the 6 drop, and I was like, no, I can't win the game.
I can't do
That's
anything.
so
Yeah.
much. I
Yeah.
can't do anything.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah, blue is definitely just positioned to be the worst. And then there's androids. Androids is green, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised. So this is just my opinion. Androids is the worst green leader, but still one of the
Oh,
best
it's your
decks in the
opinion.
game. Well, okay, like I'm just saying, right? Androids is one of the best decks in the game. It just happens to be worse than the two actual best decks, which are Gohan and Broly. Um, I think I because I have friends, like I've talked to people who are like heavy on androids. They love androids and they think it's really strong. I think that lab is much worse than destructive strength for a lot of reasons, and I think that the leader just gets less value than either Gohan or either Broly. Now it is, it's just hard to say. And then the overall like Android cards are just much worse than the Saiyan cards, even though realistically both decks play both. You know what I mean? Like every green deck
Yeah,
plays the twins with double strike. Every green deck plays 8 drop Broly. But the cards that you play, you have around those, like 1 drop Jiro, for example. You have to play this card because it searches lab, but it's also it doesn't search anything else good except for like Lab and Double Striker. You know what I mean? The Android cards overall that you have to play are so much worse than the Saiyan cards that you get to play. You know what I mean? Because Lab only ramps androids. It doesn't ramp.
exactly.
It only ramps androids. So you have to play like random Android 18, random Android 17. Stuff like that.
Hmm. Yep, absolutely. The thing that really sets it back is the archetype that you have to play so that your ramp card actually gets value, which is just it's rough. We might see as time goes on, people play droids more simply because ramping is the way to win the green matchup, and nothing ramps harder than droids. But
Yeah.
only time will tell. Right now, it's pretty clear that Gohan and Broly are at the top. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the meta breakdown. Now, let's put these into tiers because God, everybody loves tiers. Uh, we're gonna use an old Hojo statistical way to determine what tier a deck belongs to. Hojo, for you kids at home, is what we used to use our dial-up internet to access so that we could talk to each other about Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And a long time ago, there was this big Pojo thread trying to define how you actually determine how good a deck is. Tier 0 is something that gets thrown around all the time. And they finally sat down as a group of, I don't know, Yu Gi Oh players, for whatever that's worth, and determined some thresholds based on some statistics that they had. And so we're going to abridge that. They have some point system and everything to it. We're just going to take the big takeaway. 65% or more of top cut representation would be a tier 0 deck, a tier 0 format. Anything from 15 to 65%, that's your tier 1. 5 to 15%, that's a tier 2. 1 to 5% is a tier 3, and anything less than 1% is rogue. And you can, of course, argue that tier 3 is also rogue, but whatever.
Let me add one
So,
caveat before you did.
yeah.
We did not include any Japanese data. I'm not about
Oh,
to
God, no.
include
Say,
the
it says at
Ginyu
the top,
deck with
USA.
no super combos. Shout out to our Japanese homies, but until they get their weather together, we're just not really respecting
Their
them at all.
weather together until they get their weather together.
Yeah.
And we also left out European lists because there's a lot of distribution issues there, and
Mm-hmm.
so many European lists are starter deck controlled. So we tried to leave out any event where we knew for a fact that it was only starter decks or very limited product run
Yeah.
for whatever that could be useful for. If this was only starter decks, then that Frieza wedge would be a lot bigger.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, so we've got our tier breakdown, and then over here in this little spreadsheet looking thing, this table, you've got the breakdown. Gohan, tier one. Broly, tier one. That's it. That's your tier one. um, Tier one is such a wide range, and yet it's just Broly and Gohan. Green is tier one. Nothing else is tier one. Then in our tier two, we've got all three yellow decks, as well as Beerus sneaking into that tier two. And then in tier three, we have the remaining red decks and androids. Sorry, androids. And then, of course, Trunks. Trunks is completely rogue. There is something important, though. I put an asterisk beside those ones because if we remove the fact that Broly and Gohan are taking victories from each other and we put them together, if you add the androids, because they are technically green, you do get more than 65% representation by the green color on this pie chart, which means if you're strictly talking about is green tier zero, technically based on this data, yes, only barely, but yes, green is tier zero.
Yeah.
But within green, there's going to be a lot of beating each other up. Be a lot of arguments. Is Gohan better? Is Broly
Yeah.
better?
Now,
And that's where we go.
that's where we're about to go. I will. I'm gonna start it off. Okay. I
Here we
do
go.
not. I do
Here we
not.
go.
No, no. Listen. Listen. I do not think there is a correct answer. Okay. I think
Okay. All right.
if I'm being me and Sublet have been arguing about this all day. Okay. But I'll be completely honest. I don't think there is a correct answer. What I will say is, um, both decks, Gohan and Broly, are just incredibly like close. Like I don't even know it's like I wouldn't even put it 45-55. I would put it like 51-49. Like it feels so 50-50. Like now of course this is like with average hands and competent players cuz like if one player breaks and doesn't ramp a single time all game, then they're getting slaughtered. And that can happen in best of one to either deck. Like Broly or Gohan can just open up no ramps and their opponent is on 8 energy to your 5 and you're like, well, I'm getting slaughtered. My leader didn't matter. But I will say, against the entire wider meta, Broly's a lot better. If I sit down against the Ginyu
Yeah.
and I'm playing Broly, I have a bye. I win and I get a completely bye free round. If I sit down against if I sit down against Ginyu as Gohan, I actually have to play the game. And Ginyu is definitely capable of winning over Gohan. Same thing with Frieza and Cooler and U7 and all these. Broly is much, much better against the wider meta. But if I go to a tournament and I have to play 6 Brolys in a row, I would like to play Gohan because I do think Gohan has that 1 to 2% advantage over Broly. Maybe 5%. Maybe 5%.
Yeah. I mean, we agree. We both agree on that. We've been arguing all day about
Oh
that. How much of a percentage?
yeah,
Which one is and first versus second? Another interesting,
yeah,
long-winded argument. But I have to agree with you. I think that the best green deck into green is Gohan. If the pie chart was strictly green, Gohan's the best deck. I think that's just how it ends up. But there's so much non-green that exists. We still have 35% of this pie chart that's not green. And you're right. I would much rather be a Broly against that 35%
yeah,
because I'm gonna beat Frieza. I'm gonna beat Ginyu. I'm probably gonna beat Cooler very, very easily. I'm gonna beat Blue by virtue of the fact that I'm green. Um, Against the red decks, it's a little bit different. It depends on which one. Starter Ku's going to struggle into you a lot more U7, because of the leader effect, 25Ks are pretty common, but you do invalidate important cards in those strategies, like hit, for example. Just invalidate it. They're not going to swing on you and combo into it.
Ooh,
In
I gotta disagree
in
real
like
quick. Starter coup is gas, bro. I'm gassing starter coup, bro, for sure.
I didn't say starter coup. I said U7.
No, I know,
So
but
you
like
invalidated in U7.
hit attacks in, bro. Oh, okay, my bad. Yeah, yeah. Hit in U7, my
Yeah,
bad. Yeah, sure.
yeah,
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 yeah.
that's correct.
In
That's correct.
starter
Yeah,
coup, in starter coup, your hit's a 25K,
yeah,
but in
yeah,
U7, it's not, and you've invalidated that.
yeah.
Um, like if you go against androids as Broly, you just kind of invalidate them because all of the androids we were just talking earlier, they're all 20Ks. So like the android 18 is going to draw a card when you attack, and then you need to combo a one drop or combo the card you drew just to force your opponent to discard a card. It's rough. But then you go against something like Gohan, and now as Broly, you need to kill them. You need to win the game because you have so little sustain compared to them. That 35K body across turns that Gohan has as a leader is just so much more valuable than Broly's 25K across turns.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Broly struggles into Gohan is that Gohan has sustain that Broly doesn't have. Critting yourself down to 3, you're immediately in kill range. Green will kill you if you're at 3 life. They just will. And if you're at 2, it's over. There's a 115K base android coming across the table at you, I promise.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah.
like, so Broly putting itself to 3 puts you in a position where you really want to play a 6 drop Gohan to heal yourself, but you don't have time. And so you need to win the game kind of the turn after you awaken, or you're gonna get edged out by the Gohan.
Yeah, I think so. It can be and again, we're talking like averages. So like for example, and
Yeah,
this has happened already to me and it will happen again. My Broly opponent could not clear my 5 drop Goku. He didn't see a Big Bang attack and he didn't have a secret rare. So he couldn't kill it until he played his 8 drop Broly. By the time he played his 8 drop Broly, I also had a droids on the field. In that scenario, I think you're taking the droids every time because it just presents way bigger of a threat than the 5 drop 25K Goku. And so, it's a card game, right? RNG happens. In this one scenario, that 5 drop Goku put my leader so over the top. Every time he swung with his leader for 30K, I get out of it for free. Every leader I swing on every turn I swing on his leader for 35K, absolutely for free. And so, in scenarios where this can happen, you get a little bit of an edge for sure.
absolutely. And that's
Alternatively,
why
he
Green plays Big Bang Attack.
no, I of course, yeah. So alternatively, he plays Big Bang Attack. The game is different, but as a card game with RNG, you just might not have it sometimes. There's also going to be card games where I might not have Goku, and I don't get that free 35K every single turn. That's also a reality. And one other small advantage is that Gohan draws an additional card over Broly every single turn, which does matter in that late game when we're trading that 5 to 10K of value every single turn. So Broly has to charge from hand and then pop or not charge, whereas Gohan gets to charge, swing, and draw. So it's like now we're getting to this like little 5, 10K, 15K differences that can always matter. So again, a small advantage in that matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. The 5 drop Goku is a crazy card,
Oh, insane.
but
Yeah.
it's also really bad if neither leader's awakened. So
Yeah.
it
That's
really
it.
just depends on how much you're aggressing your opponent there. But there's so much minutia that we could get
Yeah.
into.
It's
I think that
complicated. Yeah.
yeah, I think
And
we'd be here forever.
ultimately too, like the skill gap is going to make up for that little percentage as well, you know what I'm saying? And then ultimately the 8 drop Broly gap where I draw 3 8 drop Broly and I just win the game, like that gap is also going to make up for the matchup difference as well.
It sure does, man. It sure
Yeah.
does. When you play your 8 drop Broly and your opponent charges that energy and they don't play an 8 drop Broly, it's over. It's over.
It can be for
Game's
sure. Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they attack your Broly and Meteor, you're just like, mm,
Feels good.
beautiful. Feels
Yeah.
good. Better throw another Meteor into that one.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I mean, this is pretty telling. I think this is an interesting starting point, right? So these are 35 events from celebrations at the start of the game, not just the start of the meta, literally the start of the game. The celebrations were celebrating the existence of the game. And so this is where we're at right now. And it'll be very interesting to see how this pie chart develops as we get case tournaments, as we get more higher ranked events, as we get the regional that's in Canada, I believe is still set one. It'll be interesting to see how this pie chart evolves and how this 35% wedge adapts to combat the 65%, right?
Yeah, that's true too because it is. I think we're in week two now of the game. Week two of full
Week
release.
one, the set just released.
Okay.
Set just released last
So
last
yeah.
Friday.
So week one of full release, we're gonna adapt. Just because the week one meta is not the same as the week 12 meta. So we're gonna see Cooler and Ginyu and Frieza adapt to try to take out Broly better. We're gonna see U7 Goku and Starter Ku adapt to work on that Gohan matchup a little bit. So like every deck is just gonna get better as the format goes on, and we could be looking at a I don't think completely different. I think we're pretty similar, but I think a slightly different pie chart we could be looking at the end of the format.
Yeah, I definitely think that the other colors can edge out this tier zero green that we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing right here. But here's the real question, Chesko. Do you think Trunks is going to get better?
In set two, it's possible.
I didn't say in set two. No, 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 no.
Goku Black Trunks, no shot in set one. In set two, we're gonna need some banger support, and we can make it happen. But right now, I think you're putting that away and wait until later.
Oh man. Part of me really hopes that the next time we look at this pie chart, Trunks is 37%.
Hey, if I'll admit I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It is what it is.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right, is that it?
Any
That's
closing
it.
thoughts?
Just man,
That's
Fusion
it.
World is really fun. Obviously, me and Sublet we're super old Masters players. We were there from the beginning of the beginning, and now we're here for the beginning of a new chapter in Dragon Ball card game history. And I'm happy we're here. And hopefully, hey, I don't know. I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, we appreciate it. Our little podcast we have going on here. Let us know what type of content you want us to make in the future. And thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.